Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's J-Man. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm J-Man.
This is Steiny.
Hi.
Do you recall recently I divulged to you the origin of my son?
My son.
Yes, it was a coworker of yours.
Who had a son.
Yes.
And he's always like, I have to go pick up my son from daycare.
Yeah.
My son. And just, you know, for reference sake, that he would say that, and we'd walk around going, my son! And we'd yell it throughout the warehouse. And we knew he could hear us, but he never said anything to anybody. And it was really fun and a great way to mock him openly. But then I started to get nervous.
Right?
And I'm like, okay, so we can't keep saying my son without getting figured out and getting yelled at. So if anybody asks, I'm also talking about my son, because I have a son. My son. We're talking about my son, not his my son.
My son.
My son. So I made it about my son. And that's why on this show we will use the my son, because we're referencing the guy that inspired it, but also that I fucking co-opted that for my own usage.
Yeah.
And I also talked about how beef stew played into that, didn't I?
Yes.
There's a joke about his new girlfriend and how I was hoping, like a big black southern woman, who was like, why don't you come over here and give me some kisses, I'll give you some brown sugar, and how they would take turns eating beef stew out of each other's assholes.
Yes, that was it.
Yeah, well, it has to be Dinty Moore beef stew, and the reason that is a thing is because when I was growing up, my dad would feed us Dinty Moore beef stew.
Out of an asshole?
Not out of his asshole.
Oh.
No, nothing like that. Out of a bowl.
Oh. Like normal people.
Yeah,
Okay.
like people that don't fuck their kids.
Yeah.
Or have their children perform analingus on them surreptitiously by offering them delicious stew.
Here's one other question. Does anybody else remember any other brand of beef stew growing up other than Dinty Moore?
No.
I think that was like the staple.
There's
That
no
was-
other beef stew.
Right?
Everything else is just some in-house brand beef stew, and it looks like shit.
Yeah.
Not that Dinty Moore beef stew is the fucking champagne of stews. Mm-hmm. It's basically the dog food meat in gravy with sliced carrots and potatoes.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, speaking of dog food, did you know that the meat that they serve at Taco Bell is one grade above dog food?
Is it really?
It's the lowest grade beef for human consumption you can serve, I think.
I don't give a shit. It's fucking delicious.
They do an amazing job with it. They really do.
They dress it up, and I can't
Yeah.
tell.
Yep.
And it's not going to stop me from eating there anytime going forward.
Oh, no, I have for years, even knowing that. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. And the thing about the beef stew is, like, a lot of my jokes revolve around sex, and then I compare sex to food products, like the smells, the tastes. I intertwine them. That's just kind of my brand of humor when I'm not talking about poop and such. And just Dinty Moore beef stew became kind of the joke du jour, where we just talk about beef stew. It's stupid, it's gross, it's kind of funny, and when you bring it up randomly, it puts a smile on people's faces, and when I'm at work, that's really what I'm trying to do to break up the monotony of the day. So I know I got off on a tangent right away. There's a reason I saved this episode for last tonight. It is the best. It is the greatest feeling right now. Because I knew I could not talk about that motherfucker that spawned those two little items until he didn't work there anymore. Well, guess fucking what?
He got fired.
No.
He quit.
He quit.
Really?
He got sick of being teased and disliked and feeling like he was getting the short end of the stick and feeling unappreciated. And people basically like forcing management to have talks with him about his language and demeanor and mental health status, scaring the shit out of people. And not just that he was mental, he would sit down and have these long, drawn-out conversations about how he was feeling, either up or down, to the point that several people were so uncomfortable that they avoided him altogether after certain comments or things that he said, or that I mentioned to them I gleaned off his social media and then retold to others. And they were very concerning, honestly.
Oh, so that almost sounds like an HR thing. Like he was almost forced out, though, too, then.
Well, there was a thing where he might have backed his order picker into a rack and broke it and then not reported it. And somebody witnessed it and then told me and my team lead, who then told our boss.
Yeah.
Who...
That's a big deal.
And the thing about that is they say if you don't turn it in, that is an instantly fireable offense. depending upon the level of damage. So he was like right there on the verge of being on the chopping block at that point.
Sure.
It would have been his final write-up, I guess.
Yeah. You're unsafe, and then you cause an accident, and then don't report it. Yeah. Yeah.
So let me take you back a year and a half earlier.
Mm-hmm.
We had some open spots. They hired 2 people. Ironically, they both had the same fucking first name. So right then and there, you got 2 options. Nickname or last name like a college football coach yelling at you.
Oh, yep. We always did that in high school, too. Yep.
So anyway, so he got a nickname. And right from the jump, somebody decided they thought he looked like Bubbles from Trailer Park Boys.
Oh, Bubbles.
So they started calling him Bubbles.
Cocksucker!
And I'm like, oh, that sucks. I wanted to call him Turtle. Why? Like, look at him. He looks like a fucking snapping turtle had sex with a garbage pail kid. Right. I even went as far as like, dude, he's got like no front teeth on the top, which is just reminding me of something else. But I was like, this guy looks like he survived an abortion. Which the first time I said that, the 2 people I told just about died laughing.
I bet. Yeah, that one will catch you.
Now, the teeth being missing meant that he ate food really weird. And there was like an instance where he was eating a salad in the break room once.
So he wouldn't have gotten like dentures or something. I mean, because most normal people would do something like that.
Broke his shit.
Okay.
Broke his shit.
Oh, that's
child support.
Sure.
I'm going to jump all around with this. This is going to be like
so
fucking
that
Pulp
abortion
Fiction.
survivor procreated? Now that's full circle right there. That's amazing. Pro-life. 2 of them?
Two children. I'll cover that later on.
Okay.
The important thing is he's in the break room eating a salad, and I wasn't there, and other people witnessed it and said, dude, he was slurping the salad. It was the most disgusting thing to fucking hear. And he's got terrible hygiene. I mean, he always looks dirty. Mm-hmm. He looks like he hasn't slept. He looks like he lives under a bridge.
Wearing the same clothes.
He would wear the same pants all week, not wash them. He'd smell like fucking feet and dried apricots / ball sweat. And the jeans would have a dirty butt. Like he sat in mud almost and then brushed it off. Just dirty, no matter what. It's like at one point he got these jeans very dirty on the ass.
And because
they
he
never got
washes
clean.
them. Yeah.
He'd wear these fucking T-shirts with superhero things that he'd get out of the cheap T-shirt bin at Walmart.
Right. Like the Captain America shield like you saw every dad had for the longest time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big glasses. Not thick Coke bottle glasses.
Well, when you say bubbles, that's what I'm picturing.
Yeah, and with the no upper teeth, his upper lip was caving in. His facial shape was changing due to the lack of bone density. Like his face was trying to fucking swallow itself.
Right. Kind of like Popeye?
Not quite that bad. But I'm going to bring up a picture of this gentleman so that you can see him.
I hope I'm not disappointed from this mental image I've been building.
Well, I wish I had better pictures to show you, but once upon a time ago, somebody told management that he was making some very concerning things on his Facebook page about talking to God and such and hoping that everything they discussed would be okay. And I'm like, is this motherfucker about to shoot up the joint or kill himself? I don't know. Is he going to Chris Benoit, his wife and child?
Oh, gosh, that's a reference I forgot all about.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the one picture that I can't even click on it because he locked all his shit down as soon as he got talked to about that. He used to have a wide open, unsecure Facebook page.
Sure.
But now it's secure again. So there's his son.
Oh, my God.
What do you notice about this picture of the son?
Jesus, that's a big dome.
Yeah, I actually took to calling his son Lightbulb Head.
Yeah.
I know that's really
like
neat.
the thing out from Mars Attacks or one of the
an
alien. Yeah.
Akak. Yeah.
Well, the angle of his own picture in the profile picture makes it look like he has the same shaped head. So, yeah. Kind
of. This is the wife with the baby.
Oh, sure.
Okay. All I'm going to tell. Oh, there he is.
Gosh, he looks familiar. Yeah, okay. I see what you say about the lip, though, the face.
Okay. Anyways, I know I'm jumping around, but I once had my 10-year-old ask me, what does this guy look like? And I showed him. She's like, that's what he looks like? It's worse than I thought. I'm like, doesn't he look like a fucking turtle person? She's like, kind of. I'm like, well, here's a better picture of him. She's like, who's that? I'm like, his son. She's like, what's wrong with that kid?
My son.
It gets better. I'm like, well, here's the kid's mom. She's like, who's that? I'm like, his estranged wife. And she's like, does she have Down syndrome? And I'm like, oh my God, she doesn't, but fuck, that's funny.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Gross.
So this guy, he starts working with us. And immediately he talks too much. He shares too much.
Overshares. Yep.
He's got boundary issues. When I say he overshared, I mean he told me way too much about his relationship statuses that I could sit there and give you a dossier on his estranged wife and shit about their relationship and how it fucking broke down. Or his new girlfriend that we started calling New Mommy. And by we, I mean I started calling her New Mommy. And like some of the stupid shit he told me about her. And then there was this other chick at one point that he dated, and she seemed like she was a mess. And he said that there were too many red flags for her. And I'm like, really? What? Too many red flags for someone like you? So when he told me that, my eyebrows went like sky high. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, Willis? He's got no teeth. He fucking smells.
One of those people that's always talking about himself, too.
Oh, I'm so glad you just stole the words literally right out of my mouth.
No kidding.
He will ask you how you are just so you say something, so he has the chance to tell you how he is.
Oh, yeah. One of those people. Yep, I was picturing that.
And I had to bring this shit up to management. I'm like, have you ever noticed he does that? Like, I know that we're just trying to figure him out because he would be up and down emotionally, and it would like worry us at times. Because he would go from talking all the time to not talking at all to just like staring at the ground and looking angry and balling his fists up and walking. And he's only like 5'8", 5'9". You're also the same height, but just he's always hunched over. And he'll talk to you. Like he asked me, he's like, how's your weekend? I'm like, it's kind of crappy, but he's like, mine was pretty bad too. I'm like, do tell.
Right.
You know, and it got to the point where he had so many fucking weird eccentricities that when I would go see my therapist, he'd ask me what's new at work. And I'd tell him about this guy. And it got to a point where I walk in, and my therapist is like, well, how's Bubbles?
Yeah, right?
Like, my fucking therapist loved to hear about this guy. Mainly because of how I very colorfully described him.
Oh, sure. You made it entertaining.
Yeah. I'm like, the other day, he walks by me, he's like, oh, that looks like a pretty big order. And I'm like, yeah, it is. He's like, yeah, I was doing an order that was pretty big earlier. I'm like, motherfucker, I walked right into that one.
Mm-hmm.
He did that shit all the time.
Oh, for God's sake.
Something about this guy that I have to say, you cannot describe this guy without, he was a chronic apologizer. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry I'm in your way. Oh, I'm sorry you're having a bad day. I'm sorry. And we would all go, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We were mocking him for it all the time. And I even said to him once, I'm like, you don't need to apologize for that. Just stop apologizing all the time, man. You're making yourself look weak. He's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, God damn it!
Right. Does it right there.
So around work, if somebody says sorry, somebody else will usually go, I'm sorry. Or we'll just say, sorry. He would just, I don't know what it was. I'm sorry.
Oh, boy, is this great!
Well, that's going to do it for now. There's so much to cover that I'm breaking this up into multiple episodes.
Oh, okay.
So, regular outro goes now. Interact with the show on Twitter at What Do We Call It. That is at What Do We Call It. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It podcast show. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm J-Man.
This is Steiny.
And that's the end.
I'm sorry. My son.
The nightmare is over. Time to spit some rhymes about the worst co-worker of all time. When it comes to crazy, he had it in spades. And even when he wasn't there, he'd ruin your day. Hygiene worse than a homeless guy. And if you criticized him, he would start to cry. Coke bottle glasses and no front teeth. And he smelled like a goddamn period queen. Never wrong cause he used mental contortion. Face like a baby that survived the abortion. Jeans with dirt stains all over the ass. Looks like he sleeps under an overpass. Half a dozen mental health diagnoses. Breathing cat piss scented halitosis. Voice like his white nut never descended. Grumpy and perpetually offended. Hair like a beat up toilet brush. Slurping salad in the break room on his lunch. Body odor that could clear a room. and didn't wash his hands after taking a poo. Sitting on the toilet playing online games, ate bologna off the lobby couch with no shame. Sexual harasser, yeah, that's him too. He'll make an unrequested birthday cake for you. He'd ask about your weekend to get the chance just to talk about himself before you even answered. No personal boundaries, too much information about his relationship situation. Never listen even though seeking advice, making thoughtless jokes and always starting fights. Blocking the exits while he stared at his phone, and the bowling alley is where he felt at home. 41 and sleeping in a damn bunk bed. Did I mention that he hears voices in his head? Talk about his dark thoughts and enemies. Got mad schizophrenic tendencies. Taking corners too fast and hitting the racks. Dumping his pallets and having spaz attacks. Couldn't wait for Friday so he could be done to speed off the daycare to pick up his son. Always a victim, truth distorter from borderline personality disorder. Every shift was like a dysfunction safari. Walk around all day always saying I'm sorry. Everything he did would drive you insane. All he did was fuck up, flip out, and complain. SAWFT, it's true. Things didn't go his way, he threatened to sue. No self-awareness in a crusty slob, creeping out all the females on a job. One light bulb head, one he didn't raise. How he ever got laid, it boggles the brain. Never liked you, won't miss you at all. Say la vie, bitch boy, go wash your balls. So long, farewell, we ain't losing much. Bye-bye, Bubbles, you're a hapless fuck.